Hi guys, and welcome to the November edition of Simply Scuba Live. Here I am. Oh, I'm very dark. Let me just change that. Welcome to the November edition. That's a bit better. So in this month, we've just got through the British Dive Show 2015, and over in the States in Florida, we've just had the DEMA Dive Show. So I'm going to be talking about that, looking at all the sort of new and exciting equipment that's coming out of that. There's a few sort of speculations because a lot of it's sort of hearsay rumors and just sort of pictures that I'm going to be analyzing. First off, we've got all the news and the latest products and stuff, and then I'm going to be answering some of your questions. If you have any questions, pop them down in the comments section below, or if you're using Twitter, just remember to use the hashtag ScubaLive. So first of all, we're going to look at the latest news. Let me just bring it up. So the November news. So November is really driven by the dive shows. Everybody sort of holds out for the dive show, and DEMA is the big one in the States. This is the one that all of the manufacturers sort of hold out their new equipment for. So there's not too much of that in the news because I'm doing the presentation later. But I've just got some sort of fun news stories, just sort of interesting little tidbits, just to get you into the show. So first off, most of you should know that that Sharm flights have all been closed, sort of to and from the UK, which has left a lot of people stranded. It's not the worst place to be stranded, but still, it's never nice to be stuck out there. What they're doing right now is they are actually transporting people backwards and forwards. Actually, not forwards; they're just transporting them back. Slowly, but hopefully within a week or so, all of the stranded tourists are going to be back over. All of the resorts are all sort of saying that everything's safe, everything's sort of fine. It's going to take a while before the flights are going to start going back. Hopefully this doesn't do too much damage to the sort of Sharm diving structure. It's very handy for us Brits. It's nice and easy for us to get out there. Big shame, but there is a sort of nice story coming out of it. The couple on the right, Andrew and Chloe. Andrew proposed to Chloe 50 meters underwater. He wrote sort of, "Will you marry me?" on his slate, passed it to her, and she nodded and whatnot. That's a very nice story. Unfortunately, they were sort of stranded out there, but it's a nice place to be stranded. The next piece of news is it's kind of a cool one. It's not brand new news. It's been around for a little while, but I recently saw a new article on it that kind of revamped it for me. But did you know that sharks like heavy metal, death metal music? They're finding it's a more economic way of attracting sharks over using chum, and it's the dense tones and repetitive sounds of death metal music actually attracts the sharks and gets them to come nice and close. There are some cool videos on I think it's the Discovery Channel or National Geographic, I forget, but have a look for that. That's pretty cool. And it's much nicer than chumming water. Sharks, if they get used to sort of chumming in the water, then they get a bit too friendly and it's not too good for them. So so this is a more sort of eco-friendly, a little bit strange way of attracting sharks, but it's pretty cool. The next one is another video, and this is a Mola Mola sighting. Have a look on the internet for this video. It's very cool. Lots of divers around this giant sunfish, and they get some really nice close-ups. These are bizarre fish. They're compressed, and you've got the dorsal fin, and one of the pelvic fins has been turned into their sort of main propulsion. Very weird fish, but outstanding to watch, and this is a great video. So just Google sort of sunfish encounter, and you'll find that. The next one is bigger news, more economic news, and SeaWorld have announced changes to their orca killer whale shows. This really started off with Blackfish back in 2013, and since then SeaWorld have actually seen their share prices half. Their attendance rates have plummeted just because people are more aware of the effects of captivity on these intelligent creatures. This week they announced that they're going to phase out their orca shows, and the last one is going to be performed in 2017. So this all sounds sort of really nice, but actually what they're being quite shaded on what they're actually going to do. They've announced that they're going to turn to a more sort of natural show, as it were, showing the orcas performing natural behaviors, and it all just sounds a bit too, I don't know, just not what people really want. The orcas, they're still going to be in captivity. They're going to go back to the same holding tanks, and they're still going to perform. It's all just a little bit half hitched, as it were. Nothing's been confirmed about there, because there are 3 main SeaWorlds. There's the one on the west coast. We've got the Texas, and then the Florida as well. They haven't mentioned anything about Texas or Florida shows. Texas is a landlocked state, so they can't really have a more natural thing. So it's all just a little bit weird. It's as if they're trying to make headway, but it's not going to be enough. So keep your eyes on this. Of course, they're definitely aware of the negative publicity of this. So they really do need to make some kind of changes. The next one is more of a sort of industry news. This is Johnson. If you don't know Johnson Outdoors, Johnson basically own Scubapro and SeaBear. They're a larger sort of multi-sports company. They've just acquired a much smaller company called SeaBear. SeaBear are relatively small. They're not very well known, especially in the sort of recreational market. But what they do make are sort of quite high-end, very nice equipment. One of them being the Sensation closed circuit rebreather, and this is really interesting because it's more of a play for where Scubapro have never made as a recreational rebreather. The only real true recreational rebreather now is the Hollis Explorer. But what the Sensation is doing is it's making it much smaller, and they're just making little tweaks and making it very, very clever, especially with the way the scrubber is built into the counter lungs, as I understand. But they're also using solid state oxygen sensors, which is completely sort of revolutionizing the whole rebreather market. There's a lot of attention, a lot of interest in the Sensation. So now that they've got the sort of financial and marketing backing of Johnson Outdoors, hopefully they can really fly with this. Very, very interesting. Keep your eyes out on it. They're at DEMA. Yeah, it's just very, very interesting. The next one has been news back towards March 2016, I believe. A dive instructor from Egypt. You can see her pictured here. She's aiming to break the world record, the Guinness World Record. She's aiming for 4 Guinness World Records, to be honest. She's looking to do the longest underwater dive by a woman, and at the same time doing the longest shark dive by a woman in the Bahamas. And the current world records, as I could find it, is a little bit hazy online. A lot of people are sort of saying that they hold the world record, but the best that I can find, and that's on the actual Guinness Book of Records website, is 72 hours underwater by a Turkish diver called Kem Karabey. 72 hours, that's a long, long, long time. Back at my last dive center, we had a guy, he wanted to look at just doing a 28-hour marathon for his charity. And we started to look into it, and the logistics behind it is just mind-boggling. And that was just inside an indoors heated swimming pool, not even outdoors in graded depths. It's as soon as you spend more than a few hours underwater, your body starts to go through a lot of different changes, especially when the water temperature is very low. So this is going to be an incredible feat. If she can spend more than 72 hours underwater, hats off to her. She's trying to do it with a predominantly female, I'm trying to think of the word, sort of crew, people that are helping her out. She's trying to raise more awareness for female divers and just women in general from the Middle East. So keep an eye on that. She's going to be diving from Stewart's Cove in the States, and that's going to be March 7th, 2016. So keep an eye on that. If she pulls it off, that's going to be incredible. And then we're on to a few new brands that we're getting in. We're getting in Thermalution, which is a heated base layer undersuit. Now the t-shirt, the one on the left, that's waterproof down to 70 meters. So with this, you can wear it under a wetsuit or under a dry suit if you really wanted to. And as you can see, over the right-hand shoulder, you get a little coiled lanyard that leads to a little remote control, and that's how you control the heat pad on the back. It uses non-metallic wires that just heat up either side of your spine and keep you incredibly warm underwater. As you can see, just on these two either side, you've got two lithium-ion batteries, and they power the heater for up to, I think it's about 240 minutes. Very, very powerful, very nice. There's a video online of a guy, I think he's in New Zealand. He's diving in, I think it's 4 degrees Celsius water in like a 2 mil wetsuit and just wearing one of these shirts. And he dives for about half an hour and he's fine. His hands are a bit cold, but his core and his body are perfectly warm. Incredible bits of kit. The one on the right, just the vest can go down to 100 meters. It's fully waterproof, so you can wear it under a wetsuit or under a dry suit. But the best thing about the vest is that it comes with a wireless controller. So that means that you can have the controller outside of your suit, strap it to your arm or put it in a pocket, and you can control the temperature remotely. 3 different temperature settings. So if you just need a little bit of help, you can just put it on the minimal setting. But if you're really cold, you can just bump it up. Very, very clever bits of kit. And all it is basically a rash vest. So it's very, very thin, very low bulk, nice and simple. The next brand we're looking at that's going to be coming in is Santi. Hopefully a lot of you have seen Santi about. They are a Polish sort of dry suit and equipment brand. They make very nice dry suits, very high end, very, very sort of well made. All of their clothing brand is very, very nice designs. So they're going to be coming soon. We met them at the dive show. We've been doing some dealings with them before, and we're just sort of settling on a deal. But yeah, we're going to be looking at getting their whole range in. They also have heated undersuits, heated gloves, everything. Very nice brands. And yeah, they go for very, very cold Arctic temperatures. The next brand, again, we got at the Birmingham Dive Show, and this is Scuba Strapps. So Scuba Strapps are made by a ex-military guy named Simon. Very nice guy, very easy to talk to. And this is one of those ideas that's very, very simple, but it's one of the best. And just simple designs, but these straps are, I call it like the epitome of multifunction. They're so simple. All they consist of are a webbing strap with a reinforced loop at one end, and then they have a high quality spring gate snap on the other end. You can roll them up and compact them down. They actually have a, you can see on the right as they're unfolded, a black bungee cord, so you can wrap it up, and that just puts it into a nice little bundle. You can clip it off to a D-ring, or you can just stow it in a pocket. They don't have to be used just scuba diving, but you can use this for virtually anything, whatever you can put your mind to. They come in a pack. You get the red one and the blue one. The red one's only 0.3 meters, whereas the blue one is 1.2, I believe. And yeah, you can use them in any combination. Very, very simple things like lanyards. If you break your gauge clip and you don't want your hose just flapping around, you can just wrap the red one, clip it onto a D-ring, and that's going to hold your gauges in position. The blue one, you can use it as a buddy line or a John line to attach to a decompression stop. If there's a lot of divers crowded around a certain depth on a deco line, just clip the line off, hold on to it. Even if there's a lot of current, you can just sit away from the group, nice and comfortable. You don't have to fin, you don't have to exert any energy. Very, very clever. In the middle, you can see they've used a combination of the straps to send up an SMB. SMBs can be quite dangerous if if you've got a lot going on, you've got thick gloves. So why not just attach it to a solid object, attach your reel onto that, inflate your SMB, and just release the reel as you go. I remember in Egypt, the guy I used to teach with, Dave, we were teaching students how to deploy SMBs, and he had a reel, sort of ratchet reel. I just had a finger spool, so I demonstrated how to deploy it on a finger spool, and then he went to demonstrate how to do it on a reel. He attached it to a rock in the sand, and what actually happened, it wasn't practiced or anything, but his reel jammed up. So so it is a clever way of doing it. It's a much safer way of deploying SMBs, and this is a nice, easy way to do it. They pack down really small, very, very handy, and they're a good Christmas gift. Nice and inexpensive, and any diver will find them useful. The next one is our ideal Christmas gift is our Simply Scuba gift cards. If you're wondering what to give your loved ones, or if everyone's sort of asking you for Christmas ideas, why not just get yourself a Simply Scuba gift card? You can spend it in store or online. Very, very handy gift. Whilst we're on the topic of Christmas, we've got a couple of things. I've just done a top 5 Christmas gift ideas video that you can find linked in the description below. So just click on that, and I've got the top 5 Christmas gifts. Next show is going to be on the 3rd of December. Obviously, on the run up to Christmas, everyone here is going to be a bit busy. I don't have time to film it late in the month, and so we're going to do it early this month, or next month, sorry. So put the 3rd of December in your calendars, 8 o'clock, same time, same place, and we'll put links up everywhere. Also, we've got extended returns this season from the beginning of November. If you bought anything from us, and even if you bought it as a gift, we're giving you extended returns. So you can return it all the way up until, I think it's the 16th of January. So you've got plenty of time, especially if it doesn't fit or someone doesn't like it. You can return it, no quibbles. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to a couple questions. Let me just close this down. Oh, I'm dark again, bear with me. There you go. Okay, so the first one is by Jed via email. Jed asks, on the Sinto D series strap loop, does the loop fit the core rubber strap? So the D loop is just the strap that stops the bit of the strap that you're not using, just holds it down. We sell those, just a handy little spare part, very cheap. The Sinto core is a walking computer. It's not a dive computer. Sinto is a company. They make sort of diving computers and walking computers, but they're 2 separate companies. So we deal with Sinto Dive. We don't deal with Sinto Walk so much. We tried it out, and it does fit. It's not 100%. It does fit, but it's not the best. Ideally, you need to find a more of a sort of walking shop to find those small little spare parts. But this one will do the job. It's just not 100%. The next one is from Mark via email. He asks, hi, if I buy a new rig band, sorry, there's a really long one. I'm just going to skim through it quick. Okay, so he wants to know basically A-clamp or DIN. He's read online that in Europe there's a difference in DIN when you use nitrox, and depending where he wants to go, whether he can find DIN cylinders. So this is an age-old question. If you're diving in the UK on nitrox, you can use DIN. We use a generic. A lot of us call it M25. I think it's more of a. I think it's 5/7, G5/7. But you can use that on air and nitrox. We don't really sort of follow that. In Europe, you have to use a M26 DIN valve for nitrox. In the UK, we don't really. A-clamp is fine for either or, but I just find that DIN, and a lot of people find that DIN is a much safer connector. The O-ring is trapped on the inside of the valve, and it goes to much higher pressures. and it's much, much safer. When you're traveling, the best thing, I mean, what I do and what a lot of people do is they buy DIN regulators for when they're diving in the UK. But then when they go to travel abroad, you just bring an A-clamp adapter. Whenever I go to sort of Egypt, I never have a problem with DIN regulators, even on nitrox. I just use the M25 thread. It's fine, no problems. The best thing to do is to call up or email your dive center that you're going to be diving with before you actually go out there, and just say, do you have DIN cylinders? And that way you know whether to bring an A-clamp adapter or not. A-clamp adapters, they're very, very cheap. They're very, very lightweight as well. You can just chuck it in your dive bag. They don't take up much space. So I always like to have one just in case. But if someone asks, I'd always rather dive with DIN. If you're diving in Europe with nitrox, then you can have some problems with the M25, M26. They prefer you to have individual or separate first stages and regulators for nitrox than with air. We just tend to ignore it. Depending on where you're going, a lot of the sort of Caribbean and whatnot, that's still A-clamp, and the Southern Pacific is quite A-clamp heavy as well. The DIN is coming in. There's a lot more DIN around, but if you're going to just dive in those two areas, then yeah, you're going to find a lot more A-clamp. Okay, so one question is from Lewis Smith on Twitter. He asked, what fins are those the white paint smudged on? So so this is one of our pictures from Dima. I'll get into that a little bit, but basically they are the Hollis F1 fins. They brought out a few new colors. I'll show you in a little bit, and yeah, just very interesting. They're kind of a camouflage pattern. That'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Monica Lynn asks, on the Apex RK3s, are these fins positively or negatively buoyant? One of my friends asked this actually earlier, probably about a month or so ago, and we spoke with Apex directly, and they've done all of their tests in the sort of 3 years it took to test the RK3s, and they find they're very, very slightly negatively buoyant, so they sink a little bit. They wanted it to be as fairly neutrally buoyant as possible because they're more of a sort of technical higher end fin. They didn't want it to affect your buoyancy. The reason why my friend Graham wanted to know, because he's a very keen photographer. If you have very sort of floaty fins, it can be quite disconcerting when you're trying to line up a picture and your feet are flying up in the air. So it's a very good question. A lot of people, they don't ask these kind of questions. They just buy fins for fins. They go for weight. Weight is very different to buoyancy. Buoyancy depends on the materials, and weight does have a factor, but it's the buoyancy of the fins is what you're more interested in. It's very hard for us or the manufacturers to test because it's going to be different per size of fins, and it is just another level of testing that's just a little bit harder. It's much easier for us just to put them on a set of scales and say, okay, they weigh about 2.5 kilos. But it's an interesting question. If we keep you asking, maybe the manufacturers will come up with a system. Okay, now we're going to move on to the main presentation, which is the DEMA news. So yeah, so DEMA is and it's an American dive show where the manufacturers like to showcase all their new technologies, their prototypes, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we've caught all the sort of snippets and all the pictures that have come out of that. There are a couple of videos as well that I've sort of taken some screen grabs. Yeah, I'm just going to go through those just to sort of try and sort of hypothesize, see what's going to be coming out of it. That's the wrong one. Bear with me. Da, da, da. That'll do. There we go. Okay. So DEMA and Dive Show. The Dive Show is the British one, obviously. Not quite as big as the American Dive Show, DEMA, but we did get a few snippets out of that, mainly from Scubapro, a little bit from Mares, but yeah, DEMA is the really big show where all the exciting stuff comes from. Okay, so I'm doing this alphabetically just to be fair. First off, it's atomic. This picture, we found, and we've got the Atomic Venom frameless mask, the SV1 snorkel. They're already in the country. We've got those. What's really interesting are these fins. So so about a year ago, Atomic brought out the blade fin, very simple blade fin. And now we've got this new sort of styling. We can't see any names. It hasn't been named in the UK yet. Funky looking blades. It looks, we've got two different materials. We've got the harder red material, or the blue, depending on the pair you're looking at, and the softer black pair. So that'll make it more of a channeled fin. Very aggressive shaping and channeling, especially on the far tips. We can see they've got Atomic's adjustable heel straps with an integrated buckle. Very clever design. These look quite cool. Hopefully these will be coming out to the UK. Another thing is the manufacturers, a lot of them, they have two different product lines. They have ones that they give to, say, Asia. Then they have ones that go out just to the States, and then some that come out to EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Asia. So just because it's here doesn't mean that we'll be able to get it in the UK, unfortunately. Some of the colors will be different. The Asian market, for example, is very colorful, whereas in the UK we tend to get more of the sort of washed down basic colors. So yeah, just because it's on show at DEMA doesn't mean that we're going to get it here in the UK, unfortunately. The next one is full face snorkels have sort of exploded, it seems. You'll probably have seen the top left one. That's been out for a good year or two, to be honest, and it's never really taken off. It's kind of a product that a lot of people sort of, yeah, they look at and they go, okay, that's an interesting concept. It's basically a full face mask blended with a snorkel. A lot of the snorkelers, they like this, but the scuba divers, they say it looks a bit clunky and a bit weird. I don't know, it is different. It's I like the concept. It means that you can breathe through your nose and mouth, similar to a full face mask on scuba. You've got a very clear view because it's always being replaced by fresh air. It's not going to fill up or flood because every time you exhale, water's going to be pushed out the bottom. And very interesting. This year we've got two separate companies, Head, who basically own and operate Mares, and an Ocean Reef, who do the Neptune full face masks that you would have seen on my show a couple months ago. They've both come up with slightly different versions. They look incredibly similar, obviously, same sort of concept. Ocean Reef, the Aria, and the Head has a removable top snorkel, so it's a bit more sort of compressible. You can just put it in your bag and then assemble it at the dive site. I don't know, if you're interested, comment in the section below. Yeah, it's a little bit different. They say the main benefit is that you get a really wide field of vision. Obviously, all the clear polymer gives you a wide field of vision. You can breathe through your nose, breathe through your mouth. You can talk underwater. No one will hear you, but you can talk if you want to. Yeah, it's just a little bit different, but interesting that a lot of the bigger companies are taking this concept on. Now we're on to the Hollis fins. So this is a lineup of the Hollis fins. Hollis make the F1 and the F2. You can see the F2 on the far right hand side. That's their sort of lightweight or lighter weight travel fin. And all of the six on the left are the F1s. Now we've already seen the standard black in the middle. We've already seen the black with the yellow tip. That's always been popular ever since it came out. It's very well made. A lot of people just think that it's a black fin that's just dipped in yellow. It's actually a two-part mold that they sort of mold together. So it's very strong, useful for the instructors and sort of British divers, just so that you can your students can see you. What they've done is they've added white, pink, and this sort of mottled camouflage into the mix. So the white and the pink, white's coming more and more popular nowadays. Apparently it's big in Asia. A lot of the male divers, they like their white equipment. The RK3, the Apex RK3 fin, that came out in white as well. Pink is the girly color. It's always been there in the background. A lot of divers, mainly female, obviously, like their pink accessories, and yeah, why not? It's going to stand out. If you're an instructor, your student's going to be able to identify you very easily in the water by your pink fins. That's how I tend to identify most divers underwater, is by looking at their fins. There's not much point looking at their face because they're covered in masks and regulators. Fins are easy to identify at a distance, so I tend to use the fins. And we've also got a pale grey option, second from the right. Again, nice, simple. Yeah, the F1's always been a tough fin. Every time you go to a dive site, I guarantee you'll see at least one pair. I have a set myself. They're tough as nails, very, very well made, very, very popular. Yeah, just nice vented fin. Staying on with Hollis, they got new regulators coming out. Can't make out any names, but we've got this sort of funky sort of honeycomb design. They're running that sort of theme. It came on the Explorer's got similar sort of honeycomb. Everything Hollis seems to be going with this sort of honeycomb, sort of funky design. Different colors. The first stages look much the same. The second stages look to have had upgrades. You've got the Nitrox ones in greens, the Octos in yellows, and then 3 different sort of combinations with different the Hollis first stages. Keep an eye on that. Nice sort of metal work. There's a lot of chatter about the exposed diaphragm. You see the red behind that honeycomb. A lot of people are worried that obviously objects are going to be able to get in there, puncture the diaphragm, or make it free flow. Hollis have actually said that that the red isn't the diaphragm. The red is supposed to be a protective, I'm trying to think, like front cover that's underneath that permeable honeycomb. So no worries of that. They would have tested it beforehand. Very, very interesting. Have a look at them. This is the best picture that I could get of a Hollis dive computer. We've got the second stages in the background, just blurred out. But we got this wrist top computer. It's all black out. That's all I have, unfortunately. We've got a webbing strap. So yeah, it's going to be a watch sized. I presume if it's Hollis, it's going to be more technical. But Hollis might be moving more into the recreational side of things. So it might just be a nice sort of crossover dive computer for advanced divers that want to move up into technical. I don't know, but it looks fairly tough. Another one is this new side mount BCD. If you zoom in, it looks to be called the Hollis Katana. So this is a diamond-shaped bladder, low-profile side mount BCD. You can see just down here we've got the attachment loops for the bottom side of your stages. We look even sort of integrated bungee loops. Some people like that, some people probably won't. Again, this is the only image that we really have of it. You've got the inflator hose that starts up towards sort of the middle of your back, but that looks more like a wraparound BCD, so it probably starts more in front of you around your rib cage. You can swap that over to the far side should you wish, I reckon. Integrated harness. It just looks like a really nice, slimmed down, simple side mount system. Don't know if anything's changing to the 75, but this might look like a sort of a crossover, similar to the Apex WSX. That's a nice, very slim, low-profile wraparound BCD. This might be Hollis trying to imitate that. Then we're on to Fourth Element. Fourth Element introduced Biomap with their new Argonaut 2 suit. So this is me getting sized up on it. Very, very clever system. How it works, instead of back in the old days when you went to buy a dry suit, you go to the dive center and you say, I'd like this dry suit. Could you measure me up, please? They get their tape measure out and they measure all your different limbs and how tall you are, how much you weigh, all this kind of stuff. They'd send it off to the manufacturer, they'd make a suit and send it to the dive center. You try it on and you hope it fits. With Biomap, Biomap uses a 3D body scanner. You can see I'm stood on this sort of white turntable, and you just stand there in your base layers. It turns you around in about 40 seconds, and it measures all of your body and all of your measurements, even to the point where it got angry with me because I was still wearing my watch, and it said that my wrist measurement was too weird on one side. So very, very clever technology. And it's nice and very straightforward after that, because then you can personalize your dry suit. The Argonaut 2 is very, very similar to the original Argonaut. They've made minute changes, just made it that little bit better, a little bit easier to get in and move around in. But they've also added the hybrid. I don't actually have a image of the hybrid, but all the hybrid is a Kevlar Argonaut on the top, and then a flex Argonaut from the waist down. So when I first saw that, I thought that was a little bit weird. But when they explained it to me, it actually made a lot of sense. The Kevlar is breathable, and it's also abrasion resistant. So so when your top half, all of the, as soon as you get in a dry suit, you are effectively in 100% humidity suit, because you're sealed in, it's airtight, it's watertight. So immediately, as soon as you start sweating, nothing's going to happen. The sweat can't physically go anywhere. So so the Kevlar material is breathable, so that will allow the internal climate to freshen itself. The lower part doesn't really need to be breathable, but it does need to be flexible so your legs can move. So it's quite a clever sort of concept. It's going to cost the same as a full Kevlar suit, but as far as sort of features and technically, I think it's going to be a little bit better. So if you're looking at an Argonaut suit, we hold all the sort of stock sizes in stock. But if you're looking for more of a custom suit, you want to change the cuffs, you want to change sort of how the pockets, if you want one pocket, if you want to add a P-valve or something, we can do that for you. So either come in store, we can size you up with a couple of pictures. We're actually looking to get a 3D scanner in shop. So soon we'll be able to scan you. Very, very clever technology. Of course, I'll let you know when that starts to come. Lavacore. Lavacore is a sort of almost neoprene alternative. I always used to refer to it as a wetsuit undersuit. It's a 3-layer material, very similar to shark skin, and it just keeps you warm by getting you wet as such when you're in the water. You can see here that we've got a lot of different colors. We've got a patterned sort of female set over here, and different materials on the other side. So expect to see more color. It would always used to be traditional, just black with orange flashes. Looks like they're getting more colorful. Again, can't promise that they're coming to the UK. It depends how sort of market research goes, whether people want the brighter colors or whether they'll just stick with the standard black, but it could be coming, so keep your eyes out. Light and Motion. Light and Motion made some big changes. They've made some minute changes to the Goby. For next season, for 2016, it's going to be the Goby S torches. So these are very, very powerful little hand torches that have replaceable heads. So you can have sort of spotlights, or you can take the head off and put a wide angle, or you can even put like black lights so you can see all the phosphorescent animals under the water, while still having the same torch body. Rechargeable, very, very powerful. What they've done is they've managed to make a few little tweaks and made it much, much cheaper. So we're at the up-to-date prices, which is much cheaper, which has brought them into very, very competitive prices. So if you've been looking for a powerful but nice, light, small torch, have a look at Light and Motion. We're also introducing the Sidekick, which these two on the side, we've got the just the wide angle, and then we've got the duo beam, which does the spotlight and the wide angle. I know I've blown these pictures up pretty big, but these are the size of a GoPro. These have been designed to pair with GoPros. They actually come with a GoPro mount that fits them on one side of your GoPro, and it's fairly seamless between the camera itself and the sidekick. It just illuminates the water, very, very powerful. Don't stare into light, obviously. I tried that when I first turned it on. Very, very bright. Very, very powerful. Nice, handy, nice bit of kit just to bring all those reds back into to the underwater world. Mares brought out a video. They always tend to do a video this time of year. And last year, it's pretty basic. They didn't show too much. Now they brought out XR, which is their extended range. So in this video, they never really showcase anything too obvious, but if you sort of stop it and freeze frame in the right place, you can see some quite interesting bits of information. First off, we got just a couple of tweets. So we've got a new second stage on the left, the Mares CR. So this looks to be a lightweight sort of polymer body, quite funky styling, that sort of triangular shape. This looks like a sort of beefed up rover, lightweight, very simple. Mares have always made quite nice regulators. A lot of them are even just award-winning. I think the Abyss still holds a world record. On the right-hand side, we can see a black, like skeleton back plate. This looks very cool. This is very futuristic. You can see a dry suit on this side, which if you blow it up, we've got the Mares XR printed around the neck. What's really interesting about this is the material. First off, is it's a membrane material. It looks similar to the Kevlar of the Argonaut, but also similar to the one of the fusion suits. It just looks incredibly sort of flexible whilst being very strong as well. Another interesting bit is the valve itself. If you notice, you've got two inlets. The one on his right looks to be an air inlet. The one on the right looks more like an electrical cable. Now this, if you, this looks like a electronic heated undersuit fitting, similar to the ones that Santi use. You've got electricity coming in from a like side-mounted battery pack that heats an electric heated undersuit. Very, very interesting. This is all we really see of it. All the other shots, he tends to be covering up the electronic wire. Keep an eye on that. And then we just got some XR gloves, which are fingerless neoprene by the looks of it gloves. They're techie divers, they like this because you still got the dexterity of your thumb and first two fingers while still getting the warmth. They look well made. They look fairly thin. I imagine they're about 3 mil, but yeah, just nice, simple. Moving on to the video, we have our first glimpse at a new mask. Looks incredibly similar to the X Vision, but slightly different. There's a better clip of it a bit later. And then we've got another second stage. So this is very reminiscent of the Abyss. In later shots, we can say it's just called the Mares XR. There might be another name for it. XR just seems to be their like extended range technical brand, as it were. But there's a metal-bodied second stage, similar to the Abyss, which has got this metal tube coming off here. How this works is the air comes in through here, gets diverted around here to warm up in the water. That just prevents sort of free flows, exponential free flows, before hitting a vein that points it towards your back towards your mouth. The Abyss has always been a very popular regulator, very, very well made, very, very strong and sturdy. So it looks like they've taken a lot of technology from that and built it into this. On the right-hand side, we can see another XR back plates. This looks more traditional. We do have some cutouts which suggest it's probably more skeleton, like the black one earlier. That's about the best view we get of it, unfortunately. We have twin set regulators, first stages. So we've got the Maris XR, and these are the 25 XR. So these look to be sort of mirror images of one another, very similar to the Apex Tech 3 regulator set. So, so these are built for the twin set divers, so that you can rig your hoses so they just route straight downwards. You don't have any ports on the top hand side, and the far side just seems to be a mirror image of it. So Apex are really moving towards the technical diver, the extended range diver. We got some shots there, just look like planar fins. Another shot of a dry suit, looks like a different material, so can't really comment on that. Can't see any logos, and then just a guy rigging up. That's all we got on that side. Here's the close-up shot of the One Vision. So this is different from the X Vision, presumably because the lens itself is a single lens, so it's combining the shape of the X Vision. The X Vision was always popular because they've styled these wings over your actual field of vision. Your field of vision isn't a perfect circle, believe it or not. You can see certain angles a little bit more. So so they've angled this mask. It looks a little bit weird, but actually when you're under the water, you do have a more natural field of vision. So the One Vision, I presume, is just a single lens version of the X Vision. Now we get a slightly better view of those two regulators, and the fact that they are put into a more twin set structure leads me to believe that these are the second stages that come with those 25 XR first stages. So I reckon these are going to come out as their twin set regulators. Very, very smart, made of metal, which makes them very, very tough. Similar to the Abyss, I actually had on my last dive center, we had a customer who came in for a regulator service on his Abyss regulators, and they had been beaten up so much that they were still working perfectly fine, but when we had to take the front cover off, they've been beaten up so much that that we couldn't get it back together because it had been misshapen and just thrown around so much. It was still working perfectly fine thanks to its tough metal body. If it was a plastic or a polymer body, I reckon that would have broken. That's just hats off to the regulator department at Mares. Other than that, we can see just looks like a Mares Essence mask. We've got this new dry suit as well. You can kind of see the material there. The inflator looks much the same, and just an icon computer, not much else there. Then we're on to Oceanic. Oceanic, they hinted at the OCL. The OCL is a, we're not quite sure, they haven't really confirmed what L stands for. It's either light or lady. I'm guessing lightweight. It's a really sort of small wrist dive computer. I can half confirm that, that this won't be coming to the UK. It just fits a little bit too awkwardly into the to the current market in the UK, so it probably won't be coming, unfortunately. But that it might. I can't make any promises on that. On the right hand side, we've got new Oceanic fins. We can't make out any names of the fins, but these look quite funky. Range of different colors, and these look semi-hinged. So now we're now they're more of like a Sea Wing Nova or something like that. 2 material or even 3 material, looking at it, with a channeled area down the center, possible hinge just in front of the foot pocket. They look quite cool, very, very futuristic. Scubapro, most of the Scubapro changes were announced at the British Dive Show. So so anyone who went to the British Dive Show, you'll see most of the updated products. I've only really got one image of the new products. This is the Carbon Black Tech A700. This is very, very sexy. The powder DVT material sort of penetrates this black color into the regulator, the metal bodies, but they've added a carbon fiber front cover, which lightens it and just makes it that look a little bit cooler, doesn't it? What Scubapro have done is they've combined SubGear into Scubapro. So they've rebranded a lot of SubGear products as Scubapro, which means that we're getting Scubapro freediving equipment and a whole range of other things. We've gone through next year's price list. We've added quite a few new products. A couple of things are changing, nothing really groundbreaking. A lot of cosmetic changes. Technically, not that much is changing. Their torches are the most, or have the most change. They're getting a little bit more powerful. Each of them are stepping up in power. The regulator is much the same. There's going to be some changes to the Mark 17. That's going to get the Evo treatment similar to the Mark II and the Mark 25 did earlier this year. Other than that, most of it's the same. Not much is disappearing neither. SeaLife has, this is the only image I got. It's a Micro 2.0 camera. The Micro has always been very popular. It's a factory sealed computer. So it's virtually flood proof. This is all the information I have on it, unfortunately. More of a red coloration. We can see it's got Wi-Fi built in. It can go down to 60 meters. 16 megapixel 1080p, so there's going to be a photo video camera. Very nice, easy to use. SeaLife have been good at making just tough little dive cameras with very simple buttons, very simple mechanisms, nice and easy to use. So keep your eyes out on that. Waterproof made a lot of reveals in at DEMA and around then. We got the W50 wetsuit. There's a couple new wetsuits. There's new dry suits. There are a couple of tweaks on dry suits. Everything seems to be going a lot more sort of blue. Blue seems to be this season's color. Quite futuristic, quite funky. A lot of people have taken on the Fourth Element Xenos, which is a nice sort of alloy blue. So I reckon these suits will run. They introduced a new dry glove system. Ever since sort of QB came out, you've always got your Cytec dry glove systems. The QB dry glove has come out. What Waterproof have done is they've acquired a dry glove ring company, and they've taken the pros and cons of all the different dry glove brands and manufacturers, and they've combined it all to make the Ultima, which is going to fit into any of their waterproof suits with the ISS, just the silicon seals, which is most of them nowadays. And the best bit I like about this is that you get a satisfying click when you actually fit the ring. On my dry glove system, when you put the ring on your dry glove and you put it in position, it just kind of pushes into position. There's no real confirmation of yes, that's in, to the point where my glove has flooded a couple times. To take it off, it's really hard to take it off, to sort of push and twist and take it off. But with this new system, it's going to have a satisfying sort of click. Yes, you are fully dry now. So keep an eye on this. All we really have are these sort of CAD drawings. It will be coming. There's no definitive product right now, but keep your eyes on that. Very nice and interesting. There's also a new undersuit from Waterproof. This is the Mesh Tech. All we have here is sort of a two-piece underwear. It looks very similar, or it reads similar to the undersuit technology in the D1, as like a two-part membrane that is forced apart by an internal structure. So this is going to be a nice warm undersuit. Keep an eye on that if you're the dry suit diver. There are a couple other things. They're all the main sort of pictures that that I found. So I keep going dark. Bear with me. There you go. But yeah, there's a couple others. The first one is the Mares Quantum BCD. So this is an interesting BCD. They've kept its very standard BCD shape. standard jacket style BCD, but instead of having a traditional sort of nylon Cordura outer fabric of the pocket, they've made it a stretchy material, which is quite clever, especially if you're putting bulky items like reels or big bulky torches. A lot of the time it's quite hard just to put that in your pocket and stow it neatly. So this is just going to bow out and just hold it in position. That's quite clever. Keep an eye on that. I don't have any images or details yet. All I know is that it's called the Quantum. I don't even have a price. I've seen it. I've sort of touched and felt it. I haven't been diving with it yet, but it does look like a very nice BCD. Okay, so let's move on to a couple questions. I've got a few minutes left. The first one is from Aviation Videos, Durham Tees Valley Airport. Hello, just wondering if you have a date for the Myers Quantum BCD yet. I've been told before Christmas. So it's really any day now. I reckon it'll be this side of Christmas, but if not, it'll be January, February. Looks like a smart piece of kit. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I think was at Scuba Fest. Yeah, smart, but no, I don't have a definitive date. They tend to be quite clandestine nowadays because in the past people have announced products and told all the different dealers to be quiet about it, and then it just gets leaks, and then they're kind of rushed to get into post-production. So so they try and keep things very close to the chest. But as soon as I know, I'll let you guys know. Next one is from Jack Hockett. He asks, I'm new to diving and I've recently passed my open water. Congratulations. I'm looking to get my first equipment. What should you recommend first? So the way I always used to tell customers is start with mask, fin, snorkel. They're your real key bits of equipment. Your mask, definitely. The fins, yeah, they make your life a lot easier. Then I'd go to regulators or computer. Regulators, because you know when it's been serviced, you know how it normally breathes, you know who's spat in it. They're your regulators. You know that you're going to look after them. Your computer is your safety elements. Your computer is going to keep you safe in the water, and you're not just using some generic computer that you don't know how to use. And then I'd move on to sort of exposure protection like wetsuits and whatnot. And take your time. Don't buy the first thing that that you sort of like the look of. Take your time. Have a chat with instructors. Write us emails. You can always sort of comment, and I'll write you back. If you like the look of such and such, I'll say, yeah, have a look at this. Or if you're thinking of this, then go in this direction. It's yeah, take your time. Jack Hockett, where would you recommend going to dive in Europe in March? So March is a nice time of the year because the sun starts to come out. It's still quite cold, so so people haven't been diving quite as much. All the algae is still low down, but with the light coming up, it's still nice and bright, but you get clear waters. I haven't been diving in Europe that much, but there are a few inland lakes. There's one that is I think I mentioned it last month, and it's a park in, I want to say Austria, that floods once a year. Very cool. It'll probably be around, it might be a bit earlier than March, but after the snows melt, it floods up. Very cool. I can't really help with Europe, unfortunately. I haven't spent much time in Europe. There's a lot of sort of inland. As far as off the coast, there's not a great deal unless you're really sort of deep, very, you're going out to look for something. Kim asks, hi, I was busy diving in Gozo during the Brum Dive Show. So my first show will be Lids in Feb. Any tips for a dive show newbie? Do I buy at the show or just try? Are there genuine bargains to be had? So so the dive show, it was originally sort of the manufacturers just going out to the public and showing all their new equipment. You have all the holiday tour guides and whatnot. They're going to be selling them all, selling you all of your equipment, all your holidays. But there are some bargains. a lot of it is is quite structured to try and move stock. So so you can get some bargains, but nowadays that whole sort of system is starting to drop off, unfortunately. You will get some bargains, so have a look around, but don't just buy sort of what's there. Try and do some research beforehand. Take your time, have a look at the different websites, have a look at the forums, see what people are recommending, and go to the dive show to more sort of touch and feel. So you can pick up the BCDs, kind of get a feel for how heavy they are, how tough they are. Regulators are fairly standard, but again, you can pick them up for feel. And then just kind of have in mind what price you've seen online. We always try and stay competitive on a daily basis. We always assess all of our different prices and try and stay as competitive as possible. But yeah, so have a look at the dive show as more touchy-feely. Don't go out there with a huge wad of cash. I usually go out just to see if there's anything new or interesting, but I rarely come back with anything, to be honest. It's the innovative stuff that's more interesting. And yeah, just to chat with people in the industry and see what's out there. So that's all the time I've got, unfortunately. There's a couple more questions. There's I'll bring them up at the beginning of next show. What I might do as well is I'll write them in the comments below after. It will be tomorrow morning. I'll answer the questions then, but I'll also answer them live on air next month. If you've got any other questions, remember that hashtag Scuba Live, put it on Twitter, on Facebook, all of those kind of stuff. Keep an eye on our YouTube feeds. We've got new videos coming up, especially leading up to Christmas, all the new information. As usual, it's getting cold out there, so so the diving's going to get a lot quieter. But yeah, safe diving out there, guys. It's always good to see you. Any comments that you have, any changes that you want, if you ever want me to talk about anything specific, just let me know. As always, thank you for watching and safe diving.